we have a bunch of PC or computer related content, but I figured, well, you know what the heck, let's try something new. So we'll be talking about this live stream, my daily tech drivers, non-PC related. So yung mga, and the three items that I'll be focusing on are in the video description, but essentially, okay, well, the third one is a laptop, so that is kind of PC related, but the other two are definitely mobile only, or they're mobile, mostly mobile products, and we'll talk about them. But before that, let's talk about our sponsor, who literally this stream would not be happening if not for them.
Sawa ka na ba sa unactivated Windows mo? Well, lucky you! Pinakabago mula sa cdkeyoffer.com. Windows 10 and Windows 11 activation codes. Legit, safe, at pinakamura. Madali lang umorder. Hanapin ang Windows version na gusto mo. Piliin ang preferred payment method. Wala pang 5 minutes, nagsisigi ka na para sa Windows mo. Marami na kaming natulungan.
Dati, sad and depressed ako. But now, I found the love of my life.
Dati, aimless and walang purpose ang life ko. But now, I'm a world-class Zumba instructor.
So, web developer ako and content creator for a YouTube channel. And ngayon, ganun pa rin ako pero activated na yung Windows ko.
Kaya kung naghahanap ka ng legit, mura, at original software,
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com. Yes, please do check out cdkeyoffer.com. We can attest that they are legit kasi most of the, actually 100% Subsloth from YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We can attest 100% of the keys that we install for our customers from the shop, they all come from CDKey, and we've installed hundreds, Windows 10, Windows 11. We don't get any cut. Like when we buy from them, wala kami special discount when we buy from them. It's just the same discount that we offer to our customers also, yung HS20 na promo code. All right, so thanks for joining me on this very rainy day. Ang labo ng bagyo, no? Parang dapat paalis na siya, and then I thought like Saturday would be all sunshine and you wouldn't have to worry about the rain anymore. But I just came from bringing my kids, I live in Makati, dinala ko sila sa BGC for their weekend activity. And like it was pouring, and I had to put one kid into the class, and then I had to stay with the other kid while the other kid was waiting. So it was really like the rain. Sobrang gulo na rain na to, but yeah, sit back, relax. We'll just this is a very chill stream, nothing really. Oh, sup Adrian, sup Lazy Cable Manager. Yeah, it's not, we didn't really announce this beforehand. Just a very chill stream. Talking about one, the wireless earphones that I use on a day. Actually, all of this tech that we're gonna be talking about, I do use on a daily basis. Sup, VA Prof. Sloth is from Mindanao. Kahit sa amin sa Mindanao, inuulan pa din kami kahit ang layo na. Well, I guess it's supposed to be a super bagyo. To be honest, I was a little dubious of the Pag-asa announcements na, okay, it's going to be a big bagyo. But then the previous week, yung Monday to Friday, paminsan malakas yung ulan pero di naman ganun kalakas, at least dito sa Metro Manila. So I was like, well, kind of overhyped bagyo. But it seems it's overstayed its welcome. Yung kala ko patapos na siya, paalis na siya. And now it's still just dumping more water with us. But two of the three things that I'll be talking about today are waterproof or water resistant. So I'll start first. None of this is sponsored. So these are just really the items that I use on a daily basis. But this first guy, the Rog Cetra, focus camera. Asus did send us these guys for review like 6-8 months ago, and we did put up a review. But like I can honestly say I've been using them daily for the past since then because I wasn't actually big into earpods before. I had no need for them. Pero sup Mark Joey, good afternoon to you, sir. So yeah, I wasn't a big user of earpods or even of earphones before. But as some of you know, I have a dog. So he's a really old husky, mga 13 years old na si Logan. You see him a couple of times in the videos. And because he's a husky, he needs a lot of exercise. You need to burn off that energy. And two, because medyo may edad na din ako, just like my dog, I also need exercise. It's always good to keep the heart rate up. Actually, I could have talked about the Fitbit that I have taken to religiously wearing now. I guess we can talk about that in a little bit, like towards the end, if there's still time. So, tara, let's answer VA Prof if we can. Matanong ko lang kasi newbie sa PC building. Ano ba kaibahan ng Windows Home sa Windows 10 Pro? We actually had a video about this, to be honest, like what the differences are. Not much. Like 10 Pro, if I remember correctly, has enhanced security. I don't know if they included BitLocker in 10 Pro, but not in Windows 10. I did have to do research on this for that video, but I was like maybe 2 years ago. But bottom line, not much. If it's just regular, hindi man enterprise level, or even if it's enterprise level, sorry, for the regular person, even for small businesses, Windows 10 Home is completely okay. That is perfectly fine. And if it's enterprise level, then your company should be paying for it. So you don't need to worry about it. If they want you to get 10 Pro, that's fine. But then tell them, di kayo may gusto, kayo magbayad, di ba? So there aren't really a lot of differences, to be honest. I'm trying to rack my brain now what they were. I think yun nga, mas may security features yung 10 Pro, but yun nga, not something that you would miss. And even, to be honest, I'm on 10 Pro kasi yung Windows key ko rin galing sa sponsor natin, CDK offer. And, I was like, well, medyo basically same price lang naman yung Win 10 Home tsaka Win 10 Pro. That's also what we installed in the shop. So I was like, para uniform na, I'll just get 10 Pro. But I don't use BitLocker, Bitdefender, yung makoloko na ganyan. I don't even have a password on my home computer because why? It's like, you're inviting trouble if you put password or PIN code on like your computer and your wife wants to get into your Viber and she opens up your computer and she's like, why does this have a password? Are you hiding something? And I'm so like my anyone, my wife or my 3-year-old daughter can come in and turn on my computer. It will boot up and they have access to all of my files because none of them are encrypted. None of them are password protected on my home computer. So it's just like, I'm not that paranoid about my home security. So I long story being that I do have 10 Pro. I probably don't use any of the features that are exclusive to it, but I just got it because the price is basically the same. So short answer, not much. If it does help you out budget wise, just go for Win 10 Home. Yep. So I'll talk about the ROG Cetras first. The reason why I got into using earpods like these guys. So these are basically like the Apple AirPods, except that they're black but they fit, they fit snugly into your ear. So you the usual Apple look, except it's black. Oh no, don't power on. So yeah, they look quite good naman. The reason I started using them is I have a husky. I need to walk him every day, and I've been doing that religiously for years. Talagang rain or shine, 95% of the time, late, morning, whatever, Logan will get his daily walk. But it was only recently, and just medyo sakto when I got these. I can't remember actually kung na-inspire ko kasi I got these and I had to review them, so I had to use them. Na I got into listening to podcasts. Again, another thing I wasn't doing 6 months ago, but I really got into it. And so now I use these guys every day because ito gamit ko when I walk the dog and I'm listening to the podcasts that I follow. And I do have two other, so I have the ROG Cetras. I have two other headsets na galing naman from another, not even sponsored. They just kind of gave it to us. And like one is the Urban Alloy. Basically, this is really the best. I mean, I've used them extensively. The sound quality is great. Yung ginagawa ko, I leave one set na hindi yung Cetras in the car. Kasi when I'm driving and I'm alone, I also like to listen to my podcast to get my mind off the traffic. The way I think about it is the ROG Cetras, when you hear the sound, it's like you're listening to yourself think. You know how sometimes you have an internal monologue in your head. You can hear yourself think. Ganun ka klaro yung sound from the Cetras because they're your thoughts. They're probably clearer. If there's one person in the world that they should be clear to, it's you because they're your thoughts. They're being generated internally. But when I use the other brand headsets, the Urban Alloy, Urban Ear or something, the sound is a bit tinier, parang tinier, hindi mas manipis siya compared to the fullness of the ROG Cetras. And I have gotten rained on a lot while I'm walking the dog. I use the Cetras. They haven't broken down, so they are water resistant. The sound quality is great. It really makes you feel like I'm listening to voice, not to audio, but it really sounds like you're in the room or like the podcaster is talking to you. The voice is much fuller on the Cetra. Plus, I really come to appreciate the may touchscreen controls kasi siya sa side. So if you want to, you just press the side and there are controls built into each ear pod. So the right ear pod is for pause and play. The left ear pod is for noise reduction and ambient noise reduction and things like that. There's game mode, which I don't use kasi di naman ako mobile gamer. These are the only ones that I've discovered, that I've found that at least among the limited ear sets that I have that are touch control, that you can interact with what content you're listening to through the touch control. So it sounds like a small thing, but you're walking, you want to be hands free because I need my hands to hold on to the leash of the dog. For whatever reason, I need to press pause and then play again. It's just like you're just tapping it. So super useful. And actually, I felt I didn't give the ROG Cetras enough credit. I did use them for the review, but it's only really when I use them on a daily basis for several months, I'm like, wow, these guys are really pretty good. So much so na nung akala ko, there was an episode, akala ko na nasira na sila because they were in the rain, because the left one wouldn't have sound anymore. I thought they were broken, but it turned out it was just a Bluetooth connection thing, and I just had to put the two pods together, and then actually I hate Bluetooth as a technology. I find it super unintuitive how to fix something kung sira na yung Bluetooth niya. But anyway, there was nothing wrong with the Cetras, thank goodness. I just had to kind of try to get them to talk to each other again and then to my phone. So it was when I thought na sira na siya that I really felt like, oh man, I'm gonna miss these guys. Like they are useful. I was super happy when I discovered na okay pa pala sila. So the ROG Cetra True Wireless, my wife, who is a heavy Apple user and who does use her AirPods regularly, and I did mention this in the review, I forced her to use these guys instead, the Cetras, instead of her AirPods. And basically, she was like, the quality is the same. I don't think there's any difference. Like, I would use these also. So I don't have that perspective because I don't use AirPods. I'm very anti-Apple. But I wanted to get, because they are kind of like in that same premium range. They also kind of look distinctive. ROG, you want to feel premium. So I had to get somebody who has experience with AirPods, and she uses them a lot for work and online meetings and things like that. But she also was quite happy with the Cetras. All right, let's do some chat before we move on to the next one. Oh yeah, we can discuss these guys. Wait lang. If you're into gaming, I would recommend adding a graphics card to any system. Kahit yung medyo entry level or mid-range system na naka APU. So there's an onboard graphics in the CPU. If you're into gaming, I would recommend a graphics card. There are very decent APUs now, like say the 5600G, which can pull their own weight, but nothing iba talaga when you have a dedicated graphics card. Doesn't even need to be that fancy. 5600 XT, 3060, although those are kind of fancy, 3050, 1660 Super. Basically, if you're into gaming, yes, it's worth it to add a GPU. But if it's just an office computer type, you're using it to surf, Excel, things like that, no need for a graphics card. Yes, I agree. Anybody who's outside, I just came from the outside actually. I was in BGC just a while ago. Um, the rain was not the rain was pouring hard, then it stopped, then it poured hard again. I was lucky when I got home na medyo okay na siya. Performance wise, what's better? i3 12th gen or i7 10th gen? Like I'd have like the best answer would be to look at the benchmarks, but personally I would think it's still i7 10th gen for performance. I mean, and I'm sorry, like when I say by performance, of course, what else are we looking at, right? But another important point is price to performance. So if you're talking about i7 10th gen at the original price versus i3 12th gen now, it's maybe the performance gap isn't that great. That price to performance, mas maganda yung i3 12th gen. But I would bet money. Like I don't memorize the numbers off the top of my head, but I would bet money that pound for pound, kung performance lang yung tinitingnan, i7 10th gen. I'm looking down because I'm gonna have a snack. I'm gonna have a cheese roll. Thank you to Antonio's, not sponsored, from Tagaytay. I wish you would sponsor us. Please send us cheese rolls, but your cheese rolls are pretty good. Like I said, chill stream. I think this is the first time actually I'm eating on stream. I'm sorry, I'm being very rude. I'm talking to my mouth full. Yeah, but performance wise, like I would bet money that the i7 10th gen is probably faster than an i3 12th gen. I am glad you asked, Paulo Varona. Thank you. I mean, we I've been thinking we did have a podcast. Sorry, we did have a regular stream before. I called it Media Diet, where like once a month I would talk about like the books, the TV shows, the movies, and the games and the podcasts that I'm personally consuming. So we kind of discontinued that. Not much interest in that. But yeah, so I always get excited when people ask me because I like geeking about about the shows that I watch and things like that. So the podcast that really hooked me was the initial thing that hooked me was Malcolm Gladwell's. He it's crikey, it's Malcolm Gladwell's. Like it's at the tip. I can hear his spiel. I basically went through the entire catalog and then I'm caught up now. So I started from like episode 0 and it started like 5 years ago or something. So there were a lot of back episodes. But Malcolm Gladwell's something about history. It's also like revolutions. Crap. Malcolm Gladwell's. Uh, um. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna. I'm gonna call a. I'm gonna call a mind blank, and I'm just gonna look it up on the Google Podcast app. Then I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering it. Malcolm. Oh, revisionist history. Okay, so the main podcast that really I tried to get into podcasts before, but this was the first one that really is like, oh wow, it's really so good. Parang dami mong you don't even need to agree with him. I mean, he really comes off as a kind of cantankerous, contentious kind of guy, very opinionated. You don't need to agree with everything he says, but he usually has interesting takes on things, and I've learned a lot. Sociology, history, modern political thought, parang ganyan. It's a it's a really interesting podcast, and I've actually read some of his books before, but they didn't make that much of an impression on me. But revisionist history podcast, so good. So that was the one that reeled me in. But now I am also listening to Revolutions. It's by an American historian, and basically he chronicles famous revolutions. So his first one was the Roman Revolution, but that's on a different podcast. That's not on the Revolutions podcast. The first one on his Revolutions podcast was the British Revolution. Um, which is like roughly British Civil War, when they basically kicked out the monarchy and they had Thomas Cromwell, the protector of the realm. And then after that was the American Revolution, and then I just finished the French Revolution now. Sobrang gulo. I mean, I've always been a fan of history, so I do read a lot, nonfiction and fiction. Um, so I would like to think I'm pretty well read about a bunch of topics, and I was more than superficially familiar, I would say, with the French Revolution. But after that podcast, after listening to that particular season of that podcast, daming sobrang gulo pala ng French Revolution. And then it was so violent, so bloody na I started having nightmares of not like Madame Guillotine, but just like just like the impressions of violence. When I would wake up, I was like, I would feel chills and stuff because it really brought home the horrors of the French Revolution, the terror, the uncertainty, the political merry-go-round. Because everybody was backstabbing everybody else, and you had Robespierre, and then you have Danton, and then you had it's like you had Louis the 14th, I think. Sorry, or no, the 16th losing his head. Marie Antoinette, the Place de la Concorde. I mean, it's like really bloody stuff. So the next one is the Haitian Revolution. But before that, I took a break from that podcast, and now I just finished up the Economist podcast, The Prince, which is about Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. So it's kind of like trying to figure out, what's the background of this guy? Why is he so authoritarian? Why is he such a dick? I I'm free to say that over the internet, that I don't agree. I disagree with a lot of Xi Jinping's policies. But in China, you can't say that at all. Everything is censored. If you're in the minority, police can just dadamput ka talaga. So Filipinos are sort of on the other end, where we complain a lot about our internet na ang gulo nung we complain a lot about our internet. Ang gulo ng internet natin, yung mga netizens. We complain a lot about the complainers. Rinereklamo natin yung mga nagrereklamo kasi daw wala kayong ambag, ano bang ginagawa ninyo? Puro lang kayo protesta ng protesta. But when you listen, when you learn more about the society, that you're not allowed to say any goddamn thing at all, it makes you appreciate more the freedoms that we have here. So yeah, just on a random trivia thing, Xi Jinping, apparently the Xi is pronounced like C, so it's Xi Jinping. So it's an interesting history, although I felt that the podcast was stretching a little, yung bang parang trying to get into his mind through biographical details, which there aren't a lot of. There were interesting tidbits, but it's really hard to kind of figure out a guy just based on his biographical history. But he does seem very obsessed with order. It may be it has a lot of things that, if you're interested in the topic, in the current ruler of China, who might all plunge us into World War III because he's obsessed with Taiwan and reclaiming it like the last holdout from the CCP. It's an interesting podcast, although I think, towards the end it kind of falters because they run out of interesting stuff to say, since it's all, you get to modern times, and what can you really say because he's very opaque. But I didn't, and to be honest, I might get into a little trouble, but to be honest, I found the narrator of the Prince podcast of The Economist, who is a reporter for The Economist, her accent is a little irritating. The Australian is a little deep, like, so the way the vowels at the end are elongated, I found it a little annoying. But content-wise naman, it was fine. I did learn a lot from it. I enjoyed it naman. Yeah, so those are the three that I've listened to religiously. Although I do have Darknet Diaries on my to listen to, Hidden Brain, How I Built This, If Books Could Kill, Reply All, We Fix Space Junk, and 20,000 Hertz. So I have a bunch of other podcasts that I need to get a move on. But I like to, like with my TV, like when I watch TV series, gusto ko tapos na yung season and then itutuloy, like I'm just gonna binge that. I'm the same with podcasts. Like I pick one up, then I'm gonna listen to all of them up to the entirety. And then like yung revisionist history ni Gladwell. I'm caught up. So then I let the episodes build up again and I jump to another podcast. But yung Revolutions, ang dami pa niya eh. Yeah, the French one, the his thing about the French Revolution, then you get to Napoleon Bonaparte, and like there's the very brief discussion of military tactics, but you really have to parang galing ni Napoleon to come up with certain tactics, and yeah, it's daming really really impressive. All right, so we can do that too. Hang on, let me just take a drink. Sup, Leah Magnaye? I know, right? But after, tech, it's like hindi naman mawawala yun. Like hardware stuff and computer hardware, and I mean, you could just keep talking about that, right? But I do like to talk about other things as well. Just to kind of refresh the palette a bit, not get overly obsessed with just PC stuff. Again, not sponsored, but the cheese rolls from Antonio's and the ensemadas, Antonio's from Tagaytay, pretty darn good. All right. So just for my latest setup, I just recently got this mouse. It's the SteelSeries Aerox 5 wireless. I actually have my previous mouse was a Logitech G602 or something, also wireless. It's a non-negotiable for me. I hate wires on my mouse. I always feel like may konting tug dito sa tip, and I just like wireless. But the G602 served me for a super long time. I wouldn't have replaced it except the rubber on the mouse wheel finally natatanggal na, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is a sign. I do have issues with the Aerox. The battery life is not as good, but it's lighter. So I mean, like if I did a proper review on the guy, I do have to admit na it's a trade-off naman. It's lighter, but the battery life, it uses a custom battery inside instead of the 2AA of G602. So by definition, they chose lightness over battery life. So it's a feature, not a bug. But I prefer battery life over lightness. I actually, using this one now, I've come to appreciate like more solid mice. This one, yes, it's very light, but sometimes when you click on it, parang nudge siya konti pataas. I don't know if it's just the way I click things because I just got used to a heavier mouse. Objectively, it's not a bad mouse. It's just subjectively, I've just gotten used to certain criteria which this mouse doesn't have. So, and then my keyboard, I can't. I'm lazy to point the camera down here, and I can't lift it up because it is wired. But it's a super old keyboard. It's a DAS keyboard, not custom built. I know a lot of people are into custom builds now. I haven't gotten into that scene because I'm afraid na takot ako to fall down that rabbit hole. So it's a very old DAS keyboard, still going okay naman for me, but some of the keys actually are already like I need to press them several times before mag-register yung click, mag-register yung press. So I am thinking of replacing this keyboard soon. But one thing I do really like about the DAS keyboard is that there's a volume knob on the keyboard, and that is super useful. YouTube videos, whatever videos you're listening to, sometimes the audio peaks a lot, and you're like, yo, I don't need it that loud. And the dial is just super useful. There are lots of things now that you can use to have the same effect. Like you can program your Stream Deck to also have media controls. But I just got used to the DAS keyboard, the volume dial, and I just find that super useful. This one is my headset, and this is the Cooler Master MH670, and I do use it for gaming. I do use it sometimes for streaming, both for gaming streams and for these kind of talkie streams. The last time, just check out the last live from the shop, which was a week ago. You can see it on the YouTube channel. I used this one. So we really like actually the MH670, available actually from Hardware Sugar. Rocky the programmer is one of our staff. Is also a musician, and he swears by the clarity and fidelity of the Cooler Masters. He likes it na wala masyadong dagdag. So there's a lot of, sometimes with headsets, they do a lot of additional processing. But this one, according to Rocky the programmer, because I'm not that picky to be honest about my audio, as long as it's loud and as long as it's clear. But according to Rocky the programmer, the Cooler Master MH670, you get a cleaner sound. There's less processing involved in it, and the audio quality, like the mic, is also pretty good. Yeah, you can don't take my word for it. Just check out the previous live from the shop podcast. Sorry, live stream which I did. I think it was like last week. I was using the MH670. The range is excellent. So I sometimes like I'm listening to a YouTube video. I put them on, then I have to go to the next room, our kitchen, to do something, or even downstairs to the garage. The range, it'll still keep going. And one thing I really like about it is that the dongle, the thing that you plug into the computer, so it has reception, it can connect to the headset. There's a little light there, and then when it's connected, the light goes from red to green. And it seems like such a simple thing, but it's super useful. My desktop is here on the right side, so that I know at a glance, I just look at it and like, okay, I'm on the air and I know it's working. We've tried a bunch of other headsets over the years, but like it seems like such a simple thing, but it's really super useful when you can visually at a glance see na, okay, gumagana naman yung headset ko. If you catch me at the shop, a lot of people actually have, well, I wouldn't say a lot, right? But a lot of, it's not uncommon for people at the shop to do this. Pop by anytime. I'm not actually in the shop. Maybe I'm there like once a week. So, parang I'm not in the shop every day, but if I am there, I'm more than happy to take pics with everyone and things like that. I don't think you want my autograph though, because my handwriting is truly horrendously terrible. I was talking about like we sell the MH670 at Hardware Sugar, the Cooler Master headset. I was talking about. Sorry, I meant to also mention in the podcast that I listened to, of course, our podcast, Tech Show But Friendly, which dropped a very interesting episode yesterday. It's on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. You can, usually we delve on tech news, but the podcast yesterday had some tea. So if you're into that, you might be interested to check that out. All right. I'd have to research, to be honest, because I don't really clean my monitor a lot. Definitely use what I do for my laptop screen is we have a lot of these small microfiber squares, yung kasama ng mga eyeglasses, and I use that for cleaning camera lens, my laptop lens. My primary monitor is 48 inches, so those small things might not be the best for that. I know don't use glass cleaner. I think maybe like very mild water, like damp cloth would be okay enough. But there are a whole bunch of YouTube videos online that show you how to do that. I don't actually, like my monitors, I don't really care. It's more my laptop, especially because it's a touchscreen, so I get to know a lot. My camera lens, you don't want any debris there. So I for those, I use the microfiber, usually for my eyeglasses. You don't see me wear eyeglasses in videos and things like that because I do use contact lenses. But my type of contact lenses, you need to take them off at the end of the day. They're rigid gas permeable. They're hard contact lenses. You can't wear them for super extended periods. So I do wear glasses maybe half of the time. And so I have glasses. I use them daily. And that's why we have these bunch of microfiber squares. No thoughts because I have not tried it. I really have no comment. I could not say. Okay, I'll just do two more messages and then we'll talk about the next thing on the list. My PC now is a Ryzen 7 3700X for the CPU and a 3080 for the GPU. But you don't need even for gaming streams, you don't need super high end. When we first started during the pandemic to live stream, I was using an i5 4690K. Tapos RX 480 pa nga ata GPU ko nun eh. So really like and like old specs. But I was able to stream Wolfenstein, the newer Wolfenstein, Shadow of the Colossus, I think is the title, way back when. So you don't actually need a super high-end PC for streaming. For my camera now, it's the ZVE10, which I use to shoot my videos, the Sony ZVE10, which can link up to the computer using a USB cable. But as I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, you can just use your phone actually as a webcam. The camera on the phone will double up as a webcam using software like DroidCam, and that's completely free. You don't even need to get um, a dedicated camera. I would not have a camera. I mean, like, I wouldn't have bought a camera just to live stream. I mean, because I'm super kuripot. I That's why I'm na dual purpose ko na siya. Like, this camera, it's mostly for videos, and then when I need to stream, I use it now also. And then for the mic, this is the Wave 1 of Corsair. The microphone actually medyo matagal before I got a proper microphone. For a lot of the time, I was using yung mga headsets. Like I use this extensively, the MH670, for my streaming microphone. Yeah, revisionist history. Thank you. Okay, just this one, then we'll start on the phone. Yes, actually, we've hired a guy just very recently who can do pickups and drop-offs now. So that is a service we provide now. You pay us, we'll come to your store. We'll come to your store. We'll come to your location, we'll pick up your computer, we'll bring it to the shop, and then you can do cleaning and cable management, and then we will drop off your PC again. So super convenient. You don't need to look for a courier anymore. Plus, wala ka ng anxiety. Kasi point to point, hawak na ni Hardware Sugar. Hawak na nung staff namin. There's the trust issues because obviously, Malala Move, Grab. I mean, they're strangers. You don't know them. The shop doesn't know them. But this guy is really our employee. We trust him with parts. And also the familiarity issue. So our guy is already familiar with taking computer items, and if it's a third-party courier, medyo kinakabahan ka pa minsan na if they'll take care of the item. Believe me, our guy knows how expensive some of the items we deal with are. So again, it's just that peace of mind na point to point, hawak na ni Hardware Sugar. So yes, we do offer that service now. The kind of pickup service, then drop-off service, and then of course our usual cleaning and cable management. All right, I'm gonna get to the. No, it's not. We actually got a real courier. Not just me moonlighting on for same day deliveries and things like that. But next item on the list is the my phone. So for the longest time, my phone was actually, and I still have it actually. So this was my daily driver phone for the longest time, like years. The OnePlus 5T, and I still miss it. The problem was at the start of the year, my daughter accidentally it slid off the counter because of my daughter, and nag-crack yung screen. So I had to get a new phone, but I have it now kasi pina-repair ko. And I don't know why. So I don't know why. Sapras, I imagine no points for guessing where you guys are now. Although the rain has kind of stopped. Sorry, I have some cheese roll in my throat. So actually, I don't know why I didn't think about it earlier, but I did end up repairing the OnePlus 5T because you can always use a backup phone. But in the meantime, my wife this was actually secondhand when I bought it. I'm really big about, if you can find good secondhand parts, buy secondhand. So this one, my daily driver for years, my cell phone was a OnePlus 5T secondhand. I mentioned that I have both my CPU and my GPU are secondhand. Oh man, no? It's grabe. So yeah, the 3700X came from a Hardware Sugar customer. The 3080 also came from a Hardware Sugar customer kasi sira na yung isang fan. It wasn't spinning regularly anymore. And so he returned it to the shop and we worked it out with him. He just bought an MSI, nagdagdag na lang siya. We weren't sure how long it would take the supplier to repair this item, the GPU. So kinuha ko na lang sa shop. But tapos di ko na binalik. But it is literally a reject. So the customer brought it in, and then he bought a new MSI 3080, and we were supposed to send this one back, but we didn't know how long it would take, and then somewhere along the line it just somehow ended up in my computer. I really have no idea. I don't, it hasn't crashed on me for the games that I play. Fan noise, I don't care. I'm not very picky about fan noise. I think it still spins actually. Maybe just he was also more of a heavy gamer than me, so maybe it was something na like hours of gaming parang ganyan. But it was completely fine with me. And it's completely fine with me. But in the meantime, while I didn't have the OnePlus 5T, my wife was kind enough to get me a Google Pixel 7. So I've always wanted a Google phone just because supposedly their cameras are better, and I was kind of curious about the Google hardware. So this is my daily phone now, not secondhand. I am actually sad to report. Just on the form factor, I miss the thinness. The OnePlus 5T, sorry, let me hold it up. The OnePlus 5T is thinner and flatter, so it's longer. This one, which according to my brother is the now standard for cell phones, it's like a chocolate bar. It is fatter but more smooshed. So, and then you can actually see, I take it back. Apparently, it's just roughly around the same. It's roughly around the same size as the OnePlus 5T, but it's definitely fatter. The OnePlus 5, I don't know, it feels fatter. It's hard to tell on camera, but it's just, it feels fatter to me after the OnePlus 5T. So form factor wise, I'm not a big fan of, well, I don't use Apple. Apple has long been like this, na medyo mataba na phone. Like, yeah, you can see it's like a chunky kind of guy. But things I do like about the Pixel 7, the display is phenomenal. I mean, yeah, the display, it's hard to appreciate the camera's not in focus, but that's my wallpaper. And then like there's a forest scene here, and then with cheap image quality screens, and if, it's like a small screen like this, the colors can tend to run together, parang impressionist painting na yung dating, instead of like a very sharp and realistic photo. But the screen of the Pixel 7 reproduces that picture so well. The screen is flat out amazing, responsive, etc. I mean, those are it was the flagship last year, so you do expect those kind of things. But I really appreciated this. I really appreciate the screen of the Pixel 7. The visor, I was scared before because this is actually naka-protrude siya, itong visor na to. So when you put it down on the surface, it's actually touching the surface. And I was worried that my camera, this houses the camera, will get all dinged up, like the lens and things like that would get all scratched up. But I put it just like flat, like any other cell phone, and so far it hasn't gotten dinged up. So that was an unfounded fear on my part. The camera is also very good. So cameras and videos. Actually, that's also why I decided on the Pixel 7. Because in my line of work, I mean, you just need a quick snapshot of an item or video for a short or something like that. So I figured it's best for me to invest in a camera that, in a phone that does have a good camera. And the Pixel 7 did not let me down. Although, as you guys know, with cell phones, there's a lot of post-processing now. So you don't actually see the image. Or, I mean, you could get really philosophical and say there is no true image anymore. It's just, how the camera and the software in particular interprets the colors and things like that. And the Pixel 7 does a good job, but I did have one video where it's clearly seen. It's my son in the park. And then as I move the camera up and down to get better angles of my 1-year-old running around, it can't quite figure out, should I paint the grass green or yellow? And it really, the tint of the entire video changes as I move the camera around. And you can really tell that the software is having a hard time figuring out what's the best way to render this scene. And so in a more traditional kind of camera where it just takes a picture, set na yung how will record with that image or that video, you wouldn't have that problem. But since now everything is so fancy schmancy software interpreted, like, it's not you have the hardware, but more than the hardware, it's how the software interprets and displays that image or that video. Then you have things like that, which I did not experience before in my OnePlus 5T. But again, it's like apples and oranges kasi sobrang luma na nito eh. It didn't have that fancy software thing that the Google Pixel 7 cameras have. It's a very responsive phone, very snappy. So, when you're running apps or things like that. The it has this ability, thanks to the tensor chips or something, na you have a picture and then you let's say remove people in the background, it will automatically do that for you. That was pretty impressive. I thought that was Google flexing its software capabilities. So I thought that was really, props to Google. That was pretty good. People reported, like, in fact, if you go to the Hardware Canucks review of the Pixel 7, the reviewer, sorry, I forget, it wasn't Dimitri, it was the other guy. I can't quite remember his name now. But he said, I like this phone, but sup, Adrian on TV, shout out Cobra G. Kale and Kiel. I'll talk to that in a little bit. I'll answer that in a little bit. Let me just finish this one last point about the Pixel 7. What's this? I was talking about the phone. Yeah. So the main one of the main gripes of the Hardware Canucks review of the Pixel 7 was that he was like, I really like this phone, but it was just so unstable for me. Like, I would get calls, it would drop, I wouldn't be able to use it as a phone. I would try to make calls out, nobody could hear me. So in the end, I just had to switch to another phone. I didn't have any of those problems at all, but I did get it well after the release date. So ang dami ng mga software updates, and one of the pluses of using a Google phone, one of the advantages is that you do get the software updates from Google immediately once they release them. Although, to be honest, I think that's kind of like an overhyped feature. Like, I don't really care about the updates from Google too much. As long as I could get like security updates, that's fine. But again, I'm not like super paranoid also about security on my phone, because I don't keep, it's always with me and things like that. And I don't install weird apps or things like that. A lot of reviewers do mention, it's a Google phone. Then one of the plus points is that you get the Google updates right away. Okay. Nice to have, but not like a super deal breaker for me either way. But just on that thing, it was unusable. Definitely not for me. Again, it's been my daily driver. But to be fair to the earlier reviewers, maybe it was a software thing that has been ironed out. And that's the advantage to not being an early adopter, and you can easily apply that to the computer world, like DDR5, AM5, the 40 series from NVIDIA. It's kind of nice to just take a step back sometimes. And yes, I really want that brand new thing. I get it, man. It's like, you want to jump on the hype train. You want to show that you have a fold, flip, Z4, whatever. But waiting 6 months after can also be pretty good. Kind of shake out the people who were raving about it kasi bagong bago, but then 1 month later, pangit pala yung product over the long run or things like that. One other thing of the Pixel 7, also when it came out, there were reports like the glass was cracking on the visor. It wasn't a very sturdy build. I would beg to differ. I have dropped this phone multiple times, like on accident, not shots fired in anger. But just, I'm as a dad now, and you have to carry your 3-year-old and your 1-year-old at the same time, plus juggle drinks or whatever. I mean, it is ridiculous. My hands are usually occupied and I'm trying to grab my phone pa. So I've dropped this phone many times. My daughter has dropped this phone many times, but it is quite sturdy actually. Like, I wouldn't recommend like smashing it against the wall on purpose, but there were a few falls that I thought like, oh shit, my new phone, it's a goner. But it's held up pretty well, like build quality wise. Yeah, there were some reviews about that when it first came out, but I have no complaints really about the sturdiness of the Pixel 7. That said, the Nothing Phone 2 just came out, and actually that's something that and I like if I hadn't just bought a new phone recently, the Nothing Phone 2 looks pretty interesting for me. All right, let me just get a bite to eat and then I will go through some of the chat. Top dances with waifus. Lakas ng ulan sa atin, ah. I mean, I don't live in the same place. I live in the same city, but just a little bit away from you. The rain was pouring. The French Revolution it's completely like it's a bonkers drama. Lots of people get it. I mean, get killed. It's a tragedy. It's a farce. It's all of those things. I mean, it's like I didn't appreciate just how nuts the French Revolution was until I listened to the Revolutions podcast. I wish my mom is from Cebu, although she grew up here. My dad is from Ormoc, so I feel that my roots are in the Visayas actually. Like makasabot ko at makasulti og Bisaya og Jutay. Makasabot more than makasulti. I have relatives in Cebu. We used to go there all the time actually pre-pandemic. So I would love to expand, but the current plans are to expand a little bit more here in the metro and outside Metro Manila first, in Luzon before going to Cebu. But definitely, God willing, knock on wood, like the business turns around, like we start making a profit. Because as longtime viewers know, the hardware sugar is still in the red. But hopefully we can turn that around soon. I mean, signs are good. Signs are good. Hopefully then we can build up some capital, expand a bit more. I would definitely want a Cebu branch. High in sa Sugbo. I mean, where in Cebu would be the question. It's been years. I have driven around in Cebu, but it has been a long time since I've been there. I would need to research also where. But yeah, like long-term plans. Long-term plans. I don't rant. Short answer, hotter than you think. A lot of people kind of obsess too much about the temperatures, especially like the Ryzen 5000 series. They are meant to run hot. Also, the 7000 series, they are meant to run hot. So you're hitting 95 degrees. 100, I think, is the throttle point, but you're hitting 95 degrees, and AMD will tell you, no, yeah, we really designed it to be that hot. So, hotter than you think. It depends on your GPU and CPU, but the general answer is hotter than you think. These things are meant to run pretty hot on sustained loads. I did not mention the name. I only mentioned it was the 48 inches. Sup, Kaiser? ProLink Pro 2000 SFCU. It's 2000 VA, 850 watts. Yeah, I would say so. We had this. We have this video where we took a bunch of ProLink a ProLink UPS, and then we intentionally stressed them out. Like ito yung I used my own setup here, and I actually did the testing here at home. So this is like on load and not on load, but really it's very variable as that video shows. So, but in general, yes, that would probably be okay. It will give you enough time to shut down for sure, which is what you want from a UPS. I'm okay with the Wave 1. My brother Rafael uses another mic. I can't quite remember what it is. I think it's also the Yeti, actually. The Yeti is actually not that well regarded, like if you look on the reviews online. But it is kind of imprinted in, like, sikat siya. Although my brother is actually quite happy with the sound of his Yeti. So ako personally, wala naman ako issue with the Yeti. It's just that the audiophiles kind of snub it. They feel that it's a bit overhyped, it's very mainstream, and it's very pedestrian for the kind of quality that you get. Although one generous review I saw was na for what it is, it's good, but it doesn't deserve the kind of like thought na, oh, sobrang ganda ng quality nitong Yeti. So parang steady lang siya, parang ganon. I myself, I'm not that particular. Although when I did have to get a mic, I ended up getting an Elgato Wave 1, which I'm quite happy with. If you listen to the podcast, that's what I use. These streams, that's what I use. My gaming streams now. So actually, the mic has been super useful, even for the videos, because now I can record proper voiceover. Sorry, I'm not chuckling at this one. I'm laughing at the next exchange, so I'll do that next one. We had to give it back to Asus. That one was actually not given to us. That was just lent to us for the review. That was a nice looking GPU. So I believe Russell is still in the shop, and Kaiser gave a very unhelpful suggestion. Your boss will not bail you out. Will not come to get you. Yeah, smashed omelette. Exactly right. Exactly. It has a kind of cultural cachet na parang, oh, Beats by Dre. Parang it's like sikat. Yun nga. Then Apple bought them. So it kind of enlarged. In the popular consciousness, it's like, it's there. And it's kind of associated with quality. But then if you kind of delve in a bit deeper, the more audio snobs are like, well, hindi naman. Ganito, ganyan. Okay, sup, Pesto? Okay, so this is a question. So basically, the Kale and Kyle are asking how do you get distributors to do business with you? Short answer, yes. I mean, those are the basic permits naman. Sorry, I try not to rub my nose too much on stream, but it's really itchy now. They do just ask for basic requirements. So if you're a corporation, it's your SEC certificate of incorporation. If you're DTI sole proprietorship, then your the registration with DTI, then LGU business permit, and your COR, BIR, COR. Actually, most do, but some don't actually anymore. The BIR, COR. It's mostly yung DTI sole proprietorship, if you're a sole proprietorship, or corporation, SEC certificate of registration if you're a corp, and the LGU permit. And then you basically email them. You need to fill up their form, which I find kind of annoying. In the form, they're gonna ask you super basic things like, who's the owner. If you're a corporation, what's your paid up capital, which I think is kind of silly. They're also gonna ask for references. So sino ba yung ibang mong distributors na you've done business with before? And this is like a catch-22, right? If you're a new shop starting, you're like, well, I don't have any previous experience with other distributors because we're just new. Then they're gonna ask for your bank account. If they're super serious, they're gonna ask pa, they're gonna ask you, okay, we're gonna ask your bank kung kamusta ba yung bank account mo, kung may laman ba yan, kung legit ba kayo. But if you tell them na no need for credit terms, like every time I order, I'm gonna pay upfront, then there's no reason why they need to look at your bank account anymore. So short answer, yes. Papansinin ka na ng mga tipong Uber tech. If you just have the basic requirements and if you fill up the form. And that is how we started also. When we started the shop, we had no insiders in the PC retail industry in the Philippines. We knew no one. We had no contacts. We had zero people we could go to. So there's really a lot of cold calls, cold emails, like really looking up online, sino mga distributors. And also the ESGS. We attended ESGS 2018, and it was just super lucky that one of the big distributors was there, and I myself personally was the one who went up to them and asked them for their contact details because, hey, we want to buy your stuff. And they kind of looked at me weird, to be honest, kasi sino ba naman ako, the shop, unknown name at the time, still unknown name now. We're just one shop in Makati, But they turned out to be a major supplier of us, and we still do a lot of business with them up to now. In fact, yung nakausap ko dun sa ESGS, siya pa rin kausap ko sa Viber when I order. So, yeah, that's really how it starts. I mean, just if you have a list of people, you email them, they're gonna ask you for those permits and also to fill up their form, which I find the form super. I hate filling up forms. Although, I do have to point out, hopefully the distributors are on the ball, but may ibang distributors na parang PC shops din na hindi masyadong on the ball. I mean, we've all had that experience. Mag-i-inquire ka sa shop, tas walang sumagot sa'yo. And that's the same with distributors. Like I have one now. I've emailed them like twice. They're a distributor of PSU brand, and no no acknowledgement or anything. It's okay. They're not mission critical naman to us. I just wanted another option for that particular brand. There is the one brand now that we're about to stock for the first time, and that one I inquired initially with them through their web form. Walang sumagot. I gave it like a week or 2 weeks, and I emailed them, and then yun, okay na. So they sent me the form. I sent them our thing. Then I sent them the form, and then okay na. Now we can buy that. Now we can buy that product. Yep. So actually, I just as a parang behind the scenes of the computer business, yung experience mo as a customer with the PC shop is very similar to yung experience namin with the distributors. And you think na it would be kind of different kasi iba naman yung we buy in bulk and we buy, hundreds of thousands of pesos worth, over time and things like that. But no, it's basically the same. Sometimes the distributors also don't quite know the products that they're selling. Sometimes the delivery to us is wrong. And we've done that to customers. I mean, honestly speaking, sometimes we get it wrong. They ordered the AK400 white and then we send out the AK400 black. I mean, yung tipong ganyan. That also happens a lot with distributors. Sa Viber, I order something through Viber and then they send me back, okay, sir, ito, available lahat, tas ito yung mga presyo. And I say, okay, because I don't check it anymore. Pagdating sa shop, mali pala yung na-input nung supplier. And then also my fault kasi inokay ko siya. I signed off on it because, who likes double checking? I mean, it's just expensive computer hardware. You don't need to check that anymore. So I had one. I posted this on our Head Scratchers Facebook a long time ago. Basically, the supplier, so I computed, this is another thing that drives me up the wall with suppliers. Sometimes they don't give you totals. So they're just like, so okay, ito yung, you're buying 2 CPUs, 2 GPUs, 2 cases. And then, naka-itemize yan per part, but they don't give you the total. So, sometimes ikaw pa magto-total. I'm like, that's you should give the total. So, one time, I did the total and then so I sent it to the supplier. For example lang, like, okay, ito, etc. X plus Y plus Z equals 50,000. And the supplier was like, no, sir, X plus Y plus Z equals 55,000. And then, so the numbers were very clear. It was simple arithmetic. And I kept trying to explain to her, hindi nga siya 55,000, 50,000 kasi X plus Y plus Z. But you know how it is with people when they get it into their head, yung ayaw na mag-isip, yung ginawa na nila yung trabaho nila, and they're not reading anymore. They're not trying to understand what you're trying to tell them. Sobrang naka-shut off na yung utak nila. And I was so exasperated na this is simple addition. Like hindi naman grade 2 because medyo malaki yung numbers. But like grade 7, X plus Y plus Z equals 50,000. Again, this is not the exact number, but just as an example. Very clear to me, X plus Y plus Z equals 50,000. But when she was computing, X plus Y plus Z became 55,000. I'm like, hindi nga, kasi ito nga. And like, oh my God, man. It was like back and forth na why it was not, why her number was correct. Until finally, after I don't know how many back and forth, she's like, oh, okay, now I get you. Okay, yes, now it's 50,000. But it's just like super frustrating na pakinggan mo naman ako. Listen to what I'm trying to say because I'm not okay, here goes the rant, Leo Magnaye. I'm not making this stuff up, man. I am trying to hear what you are trying to say, but I understand what you're trying to say, but it's wrong. It's wrong. It is wrong. And it's wrong because, and then papaliwanag ko, but ayaw talaga makinig eh. It's like, oh my God, man, it's just simple arithmetic. So the frustrations that you have with dealing with computer shops, like as a consumer to a retail store, a lot of that happens also on the retailer to dealer level. And before I started a PC shop, I did not know that. But now, 5 years later, somebody asked in the chat like how long we've been as a shop. 5 years now. We've been in business for 5 years. 5 years later, now I know that it's pretty much the same. You get good suppliers, like you have good shops. Sometimes there are honest mistakes, and I do appreciate the customers. I know you know who you are, who really bear with us through our mistakes. Um, Sometimes you get patient shops. Sometimes you get good suppliers na di ka pinapahirapan for returns and things like that. So it's really pretty much the same also. It really depends on what you need it for, to be honest. Like we've mentioned before, a lot of our earlier videos were just shot on cell phones because I didn't have a dedicated camera. Dedicated camera scared me because I had no experience in that space. I did not know what to buy. I did not know like the lenses and like what's a good body, the tripods, the lighting, everything like that. So I think it really depends on what you need. But something like the Pixel 7 or the latest Samsung, the latest iPhone that have good cameras, you should really be pretty good already with that for a lot of the things that you need. To be honest, yun nga, we when the channel really started picking up, you kind of want to upgrade the production value, the production quality. So that's when we got a ZVE10. Actually, I'm super happy with the ZVE10. I still only know very basic stuff about cameras, but like Dance with Waifus mentioned, it looks a lot clearer now. Actually, the body is the same. It's still a ZVE10, but I'm using a different lens. And apparently, there's a saying among camera enthusiasts na you date the body, so the actual camera, but you married the glass, the lens that you're using, because the lens can dramatically change what you get from a camera. This particular lens actually is old. I bought it last year pa, but for the shop. So if you see footage from the shop, that's mostly this lens. But on my camera, I was just using the prime lens, the stock lens that came with the camera. But I've been trying to come up with better ways to shoot the videos and things like that. So I thought I would experiment with this lens at first. And to be honest, kasi since Jay left, RIP Jay, no, not knock on wood, knock on wood. I mean, Jay was one of our tech staff. He was also very good kasi with the cameras and the lighting, and he really set up the shots that we did in the shop. And I do miss Jay. He was really good at the cameras, also a very good tech, also very good with customers. But he got pirated, not by another shop, but also kind of in the tech space. But so since Jay was not at the shop anymore, I figured I might as well get this lens now and experiment with it here at home. So it's actually the same body. It's still the ZVE10, but yeah, the lens is a lot different. So it's more focused. You get this nice bokeh, the kind of blurring out of the background and things like that. It's also much clearer, like on the face wise, much tighter shot. So wala na. I'm gonna have to like the guys do use this particular lens in the shop, so I'm gonna give it back and then I'll get a new lens for the ZVE10. It's kind of painful kasi medyo mahal yung mga lenses. But again, yun nga, you can see the difference in the quality eh. And yun nga, well, medyo nasulit ko na rin yung stock lens. I got a lot of footage out of that. And the stock lens is still useful if you can kind of like want a wider shot, a clearer shot of everything. So, sulit na rin. Like, I'll keep the stock lens, but then get a different lens and then bring this back to the shop. Yes, I hope you're still watching. Ang ako mga ginikanan, mga Bisaya, ang ako mama gikan Cebu, akong papa taga Ormoc. So yes, I do have fun and yun nga, mo bisita mo bisita ko a lot before the pandemic sa Sugbo. So I do want to uh open up a shop there eventually, but probably still in the works. All right. Sorry, just to jump to Ross. Yes, yes. Russell can attest that the Pixel 7 is pretty tough. I don't mind it, to be honest. I drop my phone a lot also. I don't mind it, like if it's an accident and something like that happens. I know, Kaiser, I hear you. I actually I it's basically like the framework laptop philosophy now. So you have this kind of scaffolding, and then you can put different things in place. And I think Project Araba or Aura was a Google initiative, diba? Like that's what they were like it stemmed from Google itself. I never got to try one actually. I thought it was pretty useful, although they did have like these weird things, like you can have like a microscope and then you kind of snap on to the phone and things like that. Personal thoughts, I thought it was an interesting idea. From a business standpoint, I was not sure it would make money, so I am not surprised na it was eventually canceled. Pero sayang naman kasi uh I feel the mobile space has gotten a bit stagnant with people just looking at like screens mostly and things like that. Nobody really wants to kind of rock the boat anymore. This has come the default standard and it's kind of boring. Um, the CEO of Nothing actually mentioned that in his one of his more recent videos na he thinks Apple has stifled innovation because everybody just got used to this kind of black rectangle thing. Sorry, and one last thing about the Pixel 7. The so I'm gripping now the phone using the visor, and actually it's a pretty good way to consume content. Like if I want to watch video on it gives me just enough purchase that I can grip it using the visor side. So I've never seen any reviewer mention that before. But yeah, I mean, like if you want to kind of hold it far away from yourself and then grip it, the visor is an unexpected. That's an unexpected use for the visor. It is the glass. Yep, it's the lens. All right, let me just finish this and then we'll do the last laptop thingy. Usual. I hate PLDT for for home internet. Actually, their internet is pretty good, but the problem is the service. Like when something goes down, and something will go down, 1 year, 2 year, eventually something is gonna catch up with you. May lightning strike, whatever, and you need service. You cannot get service, and I think for me that is a cardinal sin for any kind of consumer facing business. The product is good, but consumer service is also part of the business. So I hate PLDT. I swore one of the earliest videos we did for this channel is me explaining why I hate PLDT based on my own experience, because I did have PLDT fiber here before. I'm with Converge now. So and you really, I mean, MVP has made a business practice of taking on these companies and making and streamlining them, making them just good enough that they're able to very efficient at getting money from customers. So for PLDT, the installation process mabilis. Yung actual product mabilis, in fairness, yung internet nila. But the customer service is terrible. Again, like Meralco, when they took over Meralco, the bills, I mean, are very regular now, and you can pay them wherever. Fortunately, well, the one recent instance I had with Meralco was a couple of years ago kasi I had to apply for net metering. In fairness, mabait naman si engineer. You actually have to talk to the engineer with Meralco. It's like a whole process. But then at the end of the day, they said, okay na yung net metering ko. But then like for 3 months, wala akong credit. Because with net metering, I have solar panels upstairs. And again, this is a video from the early days of Hardware Sugar. And if I'm not consuming all of that power, I can sell it back to the grid. So actually, my neighbors will consume the power, and then Meralco pays me for generating electricity. And then, it's a long process. Hinintay ko pa yung digital meter nila, everything. But okay lang kasi at the time I wasn't exporting any energy because I was mining. So obviously walang exporting of energy kasi ginagamit ko lahat. But then 3 months, but then they told me na okay, now you're exporting energy. Tamang-tama, I had stopped mining around that time. Net metering is on. And then I looked at my bill for 3 months and there was nothing. So I had to go back to Meralco and tell them that, hey, what's up? And they're like, oh, sorry, we forgot to tag something on your account or something. And imagine, I could have been doing that for years. And if I hadn't checked on my bill na wala pang credit for net metering, wala. Nasayang lang pera ko. So I think MVP is very good at making companies more efficient at fleecing. Or there's a nicer term in business of it's like making your customers more valuable because you're able to extract more value from them. It's like they're mining you. It's like you're a resource. They're getting more value from you. But actual customer service is terrible. So if they buy broadband, if any company that MVP is associated with, I feel that is their MO. Super fast to install, get you on the train, get you on the bandwagon and get you on the paying bandwagon. But once you're there, customer service terrible. In fact, I swore I would never use PLDT again. Unfortunately, I had to go back on that. Yung internet sa shop is PLDT only because yung only available provider in the building is PLDT. But maybe we should get FPLDT. And I'm being very objective about this. Okay, actually, my wife has a smartphone. Smart is great. Internet wise, like because I have Globe Internet on my phone. The Globe Internet is sometimes slow, sometimes it won't pick up at all. But the Smart Internet, and again, this is another video we did for the shop for the channel. Smart Internet is very good. She's never had to use their customer service naman. So Smart, I mean, I have di ako galit sa Smart, but I am really super annoyed even now about PLDT. I swore I would never use them again. Maybe we should just get Starlink for the shop because the guys in the shop have been bugging me na mabagal na yung internet. I don't know why mabagal yung internet. Like, what the hell are you guys running na ba't ang bagal ng internet? I mean, because think about it, right? Ano ba dina-download din nyo? Yung mga drivers? Di naman gano'n kalaki yung mga drivers, ah. So, sorry, I was looking at one of our Slack conversations. We had a custom monitor come in. It's the Odyssey, the Samsung Odyssey na 49 inches. So I told my staff to take a picture and then they took a picture beside some other boxes para lang you can tell in the picture gaano kalaki yung scale of this Samsung Odyssey. And it is a monster. Okay, let's do one rundown through the chat, and then I will just talk briefly about my laptop, and then that's it. That we'll call it a day. Jay's 2 cents had a video about this very recently. I agree with Jay. I don't have hard data to support this, but we always it's our default thinking in the shop is to have the usual intake fans in the front and then everything else exhaust. All exhaust case for me, it feels weird. I don't have the hard numbers. I don't have the hard numbers to back up. I'm saying, although Jay's 2 cents, I think is one of his most recent videos where he talks about how he has data supporting that, the intake, and even if the intake is covered by an AIO radiator or water cooling radiator, that's still better than making it all exhaust. So I defer to him. My own personal thoughts are it just feels, I can believe that. Parang it feels weird kung mas optimal yung all exhaust on the case fans. And I know this came about because there was a pre-built from Omega Systems, I think. And then so Jay commented on it. He did a video on it na ba't ganito yung setup ng fans, and then they replied na we tested it and yan yung pinaka-optimal. And then Jay had another video where he's like, nah, I don't think so. I don't want to get into it, but I would find it weird if the front was not okay. Just to make it sound a bit more professional, I cannot think of any case where an all exhaust configuration would be the most optimal. Sorry, as I say that, I look at my case and here. I don't know if you can see it. So I don't want to move the camera anymore, but I'll take a picture. Show my it's really blurry. There. Okay. Yeah, there's no autofocus kasi so on this lens. So if you notice, my case is open air type. So my AI, so literally my case is actually all exhaust kasi yung fans ko lang naman yung AIO radiator fans. So I mean, yes, in bunker situations like that where there is no airflow to speak of kasi hindi naman, it's an open air case, hindi naman the air is not channeled or funneled anywhere. Then okay, maybe then an all exhaust. Actually, my case now is all exhaust. Come to think of it, but in most cases, I would find that weird. I think for serious stuff, for sure. I mean, the camera has really, like the ZV-E10 has really boosted our production quality. I myself also enjoy using it just for videos and seeing like how they look like. But to be honest, like the stuff I post for Facebook and YouTube, like the daily posts, all of that are just usually with our camera phones. So I think it's, every tool for the case that you need it for. Yes. Grabe mahal ng mga lenses. Okay, sup, Ochi? No more money to burn. We gotta ipon muna tayo ng pera. Ipon muna for the burning. Sup, Yamato Lexo? I saw a previous there was something on chat na daily drinker. I'm not a big drinker, but what do I do like what do I like drinking? Actually, the Don Papa is pretty good, to be honest. For context, when we hit 60K subscribers, we were doing a special video. Then we asked several people, hey, do you want to be part of the video? Don Papa said yes. So in that video, I read real comments that I got on our YouTube videos, and they're the mean comments like, why do you move your arms around and why don't you blink, and what else, yeah, some people have issues with the way I speak English. May iba na nagagalit paano ako magtagalog. I mean, it's like you can't win either way. Anyway, so every time that I would read a comment, I would take a shot of the Don Papa, and then I was doing that so live. So as we were doing the video, I get drunker and drunker, but still very much, in control of my faculties. Kasi, lawyer, law student, gotta handle your drink. But yeah, I don't really. Like, I'm not really a Scotch guy. So I know, like, as you get older, some of my friends are really into Scotch. Whiskey, it's okay lang with me, but nothing what I really like actually are cocktails. Like, you go to a good bar, they have good cocktails, like you mix and stuff. Like, I like tasting the flavor and things like that. I'm not a wine snob by any means, but certainly like a good, I can appreciate a good wine. You're talking like the Grand Cru, or as the French would call it, the Grand Cru. If you put the Cru. This is the way they, that's a certain designation that they put on certain wines, because that meant it was a good year. So not every year is a Grand Cru. Not every locality gets a Grand Cru every year. And then there are stages of the crus. Like, there's a Premier Cru, I think. The Grand Cru is pretty up there. Yeah, but like a good wine, it doesn't need to be a grand crew, but that you can kind of enjoy. Like, yeah, I'm down with that, but I'm not like a super big drinker. Except like sometimes my kids really drive me up the wall, and at the end of the day, I just need a stiff drink. I can, I'll admit to that. Paano kayo nagna-navigate or draw the line to the customer pagdating sa business? Like minsan barat, belittle the services. um, I don't know if you want to be taking advice from me, because what I do is all customers we treat the same. Whether you complain or not, we literally treat you the same way, and that's okay with like 98% of the people out there. That's good for them, because we really do try to treat our customers with respect. We treat our customers the way we would treat our friends. Okay, it's always how I put it. So when your friend wants a computer build and you suggest something, ayaw mo na malugi sila. Gusto mo na makuha nila yung best performance on their budget. And that's what we try to do with every customer. But if you have a friend na medyo makulit, medyo paminsan nakakaasar na kasi ang demanding, then as a friend, you can kind of also clap back and say, right, hey man, chill out, relax. You're gonna get your computer, but we gotta finish this guy first who came beforehand. Parang ganyan. Ganun kami. We're not afraid of telling the customer na, hey man, you gotta relax. And we're following the queue, and these guys came first. Or, yes, you just bought a computer from us. Yes, it just broke down. Don't throw a hissy fit because things really break down. We've had customers na we had one customer na celebrity talaga, like he's married to a celebrity, he himself is also a celebrity. This was the first time he did business with us, and then like a week later his effing graphics card broke. So I'm like, oh god damn it. I mean, you want everybody to be happy. You didn't want him to get a bad impression because he could refer people and things like that, but he was super chill about it, super relaxed. He just brought it in. None of this like, hey, god damn it, you know who I am, and ba't ako bumili sa shop mo, sabi ninyo bagong-bago to, di ba? Bakit ganito ganyan? And you do get customers like that na you get customers like that na something happens and they didn't expect it and they're like, hey, what the hell? And B, you do get problems like that kasi hindi mo naman talaga control yung quality ng parts. Any brand, something might happen. But this customer was super chill. We really appreciated it. But even like as a shop, you don't need to be a celebrity. We've done it for a lot of people. We will lend you stuff. Like come back in, it might not be the same, like 3070 yung GPU mo. Pinahiram natin 2060. Lower end, but definitely you can still use your computer. So actually that's really my advice in a nutshell on that. Treat your customers like your friends. So much so that I myself, I tell the staff, don't call the customer sir or ma'am. Although they don't follow me. Nobody follows me. But sorry, I just chuckled because I was thinking if Russ is watching this. If you're watching this on the VOD, Russ, you know this, that nobody in the shop follows what I say. But I really tell the staff, don't call the customers sir or ma'am, because that's not how you call your friends. And ako, when I deal with customers, it's always very laid back. It's like, sup, what can we do for you? Parang ganyan. That's how I am with my friends when they ask me like tech advice and like what they should get. I'm like, I think this is the best kasi ganito ganyan. But by the same token, you flip the switch. I also feel comfortable enough with my friends to say na, hey man, relax. Although I'm actually quite glad that I guess I've chosen my friends well. I've never actually had to say na, stop being a jerk and let us finish this. But because I am friends with that person, I would feel comfortable enough telling them that if I felt that their behavior was out of line. And then at the end of the day, you can kind of like have a head scratchers where you're like, what the hell? I remember this one customer. He turned out to be okay naman, but he just got very aggravated kasi he lives up north. He got a computer from us. May problema sa RAM, like the RAM broke right away, or something like that. And then he was like, so I was kind of suggesting to him over chat a solution, and he's like, bakit ganyan? Parang ginawa mo na chop suey yung computer ko. Hindi ba bago to? Parang ganyan. I'm like, First of all custom builds are chop suey, okay? I mean, you really get a bunch of parts there. And yeah, you mix and match together, and yeah. And second of all, yes, it kind of sucks that your PC broke, but the fact that you have to send it back to us, we ask that of all our customers. Kind of sucks that it's hard for you, but I mean that's the way the cookie rolls. If you buy from us, something breaks, the bare minimum that we require of everybody, whether you're in Tawi-Tawi, and we do have customers in Mindanao who have sent stuff back, is that you bring it in. So yeah, I mean, especially in the computer space, you get a lot of that. Like, medyo may pagka-entitled. Thank you, JW. I know, dances with waifus. The staff never listens to me. I tell them, don't call anybody ma'am. I mean, wag mo sila bastusin, di ba? Like, like, hoy, wag naman ganyan, di ba? Pero like, hey, how are you doing? Hey, welcome. What can we do for you? I never call anybody. I haven't called any customer ma'am, sir. Maybe po if they're older. I mean, and that's just a general sign of respect. I'm not saying be bastos. I mean, especially for Filipinos, it's very important to us to show deference to older people. Although sometimes, the older people, sometimes sila talaga yung pinakamakulit. And like, oh, gods. Anyway. All right, we gotta, sup, Angelo, Rebong. I gotta do this one last. So my last daily driver, I mentioned my kids a lot more now because one is 1 year old and one is 3 years old. So especially for the 3-year-old, I'm the one who brings her to school. So I bring her to school and I basically wait there, and it's a lot of dead time for me. And it's really hard to do business with just a cell phone. Like, I'm chatting through Slack, I'm checking prices, I'm checking kung may pumasok na payment. I'm writing scripts, I'm doing the accounting. I mean, so many things. So I finally decided after years, I haven't had a dedicated laptop for years, to buy my own laptop. And this is the, yeah, it's got to be near my face for the focus. This is the Asus S14 Flip OLED, because I cannot go back anymore to screens that are not OLED. My primary monitor, nawili ako. Kaya, when I'm very candid with these reviews. I'm not that kind of reviewer na parang pasnuti-snuti na, oh, I've seen so many things and I've seen better, parang ganyan. But the Asus OLEDs are like, goddamn, like I would like I was not looking for a monitor, but after they let me try it out, I really had to get it. And then, so when I was looking for a laptop, OLED na din, and the screen has not disappointed me. So, but the thing with this one is that it's the flip version. So you can, aside from opening it up all the way, so this is like how you normally would this is also a touch screen, and you can flip it all the way also. So like you can do it like a tent. So like if you're watching, so like there's a tent there. Please don't do a Linus and drop this. This is still new. So like, if you're watching content, it can be a tent like this, or you can flip it all the way like a tablet. Like you can fold it all the way like this. The screen also flips over. So my last laptop actually was a Lenovo Yoga, one of the ones who pioneered this kind of flip thing. And I really enjoyed the flip function. If you look at laptop reviewers, a lot of them think it's a gimmick, the touchscreen plus the flip. But I beg to disagree. And actually, I will be doing a review of this guy. For me, to consume media, to watch media, I find the flip very useful. And the performance of this guy is everything that I needed it to be. No burn-in yet, Kaiser. Although I'm very super OC for the ROG, for the PG48UQ. Like, initially, sorry, so just to very short digression on my care regime for the PG48UQ. Before when I would leave, because I leave my computer on the whole day, but let's say I have to step out, right? I need to cook or whatever, I need to play with my kids. I don't turn off my computer because I want all my windows to be back where I got them when I get back. Before I would turn off the monitor, but I'm like, oh, is that really the best thing to do? Kasi turning it on and off multiple times, baka may masira pa dyan and whatever, right? So what I do now is, naka-display port ako, but I shift the input to HDMI, so it cuts out because there's nothing attached to the HDMI, so it's like a black screen, but I don't need to turn it off. So I thought that was a pretty clever hack on my part to get a black screen, to get no display, but not having to turn off the monitor. Also, the other thing, if I turn off kasi the monitor, nasisira nga yung configurations ng Windows ko because Windows thinks na wala na yung monitor na yun. So everything else gets scattered among my 3 other monitors, which I really hate. So that's also another reason why I came up with the HDMI, shifting to HDMI input hack. So yes, I am super happy. Not sponsored. I didn't get to try this out before I bought it. I got this at regular price. So this is like an up and up, like legit purchase. But I'm super happy with the S14 Flip OLED. Everything I needed to do, it does well. So yun nga, yung basically it's like banking, writing, working, and things like that. It's you go a lot faster when you have an actual keyboard, a larger screen compared to just the cell phone. So the S14 Flip OLED, great. I love watching videos on it also. So now, at the end of the day, my 3-year-old and I do. And I guess, you can argue that this is bad parenting, but I think it's actually pretty responsible parenting. I'm beside my daughter. She's beside me. She's watching on her iPad, and then I'm watching on the laptop. Why is it responsible parenting? Because I can still see what she's watching or what she's playing. It's part of her daily routine, so like 30 minutes before she goes to bed and things like that. So there is set screen time. And it's just kind of something that we do together. We're both watching different things. Although recently we've taken to watching Monsters Inc. together on the laptop. So yeah, it's something that we can do. She knows how to turn my laptop off. I taught her how to use the iPad, like how to turn it off. She knows how to enter the pin code for the iPad and things like that. So I'm not super paranoid about like screen time and tech time for kids because I also read to her. You balance it out. You get a lot of people who are super paranoid about that. I think just relax, yo. I'm a very actually that's my philosophy to things in general. Just relax. Because I do read to her. I do try to read to her a lot as well. So it's not just screen time and like not to this is my parenting style. But even before she was born, like she was still inside her mom's tummy, I was already reading. I read Harry Potter to her. I read Watership Down. If you haven't read that, that's pretty good actually. Watership Down. I'm a lit major. I'm a reader all my life, so I really enjoy reading. My parents did the same thing to me. My mom, when I wasn't even born yet, she would also read to me. They would read to me when I was born, when I got older. So that's something I still do with my kids now. So the whole tech thing, I don't really mind it if she has a lot, too little, whatever of screen time kasi nababalance naman. And I enjoy the ritual at the end of the day. And I wouldn't do that if the screen were pangit. But the screen is so nice, so I can watch the episodes that I usually watch. Before we would be separated because I would have to come down here to watch it on my big screen because my monitor is better than the big screen TV we have. It's better resolution, it's 4K, it's OLED. So this is actually the best screen in the house, my primary monitor. And I'm kind of picky about the episodes I watch. I always bump it up to 4K and things like that. But now I can do it on in bed beside my daughter because the screen is really great, and you have the flip function and the touch function and things like that. It can even like I edit the podcast on this, like the audio. It can do that also. You can do rough edits, like even with our timeline, we do a 2K timeline in DaVinci Resolve, but it's really rough. But I don't blame it kasi hindi naman siya pang editing. Like I was able to try a an Asus ProArt na laptop na pang editing talaga. Yun, sobrang ganda. Like it was even, I don't know, parang it seemed even smoother than me editing on my desktop for some reason. I don't know. But I didn't buy this laptop with the intention that it should do that editing. So I don't fault it for that. So yeah, daily driver, like it's basically with me every weekday when I'm bringing my kid to school. Super, super happy with it. I see a fellow reader. Watership Down is beautiful. I have to say, I read it very late in life. It's commonly associated as a kiddie book, but I read it like maybe I was like my 20 or something. Pero ang ganda. Ganda nung Watership Down. It's about rabbits in rural England. And I know like I'm into sci-fi that wouldn't usually get me, amped up and excited. That description alone is like, but the thematically and the adventure itself, and it's pretty long actually for a children's book and things like that. But yes, so I it's also why I wanted to revisit it. And when I read it to my daughter, because I found it such a it's a beautiful book. Ay, puñeta. I was oh shoot. Okay, there we go. So I was so scared that my mouse died because it ran out of battery. And then the USB cable that I usually plug in, because you can use it as a wired connection, is connected to the camera now. So I would have been dead in the water. But fortunately, it just was on sleep. No, you're not required, Pesto. So you don't need to do net metering. Actually, you can just set up solar panels, and then you don't need to tell Meralco. Although I don't know actually if you're technically required just to tell them, because although the fear kasi is you're still generating power even in a brownout during the day. And if there are linemen, people working on the electric lines outside, that's a live wire. It could be a live wire because you are generating power. May kuryente nanggagaling sa'yo. But my system auto shuts down eh. Um, but now I'm trying to remember if that's a function from Meralco or it's my own function from the inverter. I think it's my own function from the inverter. But short answer, no. You're not required to sell to Meralco. Actually, there's a whole bunch thing there. Let's say it's like 1 kilowatt. Meralco charges you, let's say, 5 pesos per kilowatt hour. They'll only give you credit lower than that. Let's say it's 5 pesos per kilowatt hour, just as an example. When you produce a kilowatt hour and you sell it to them, they're not going to give you 5 pesos. They're going to give you something like 4 pesos and 75 cents, because there's some ek about like generation transmission or something. Basta ina-argue nila na you're only due the generation charge, not the transmission charge or something. But when I charge you, the customer, then you need to pay the full 5 pesos. And then, yeah, so kind of annoyed also with Meralco. I am sad to hear this. I have actually not done any reviews. I've not looked on any reviews on Starlink in the city or specifically in Manila. I know ako si Doggy ako si Doggy, um, did get a Starlink recently, but I haven't seen the video kung ano yung experience niya. I actually have no plans of getting it, but I just wanted it like as a backup kung nainis na ako sa lahat ng mga Philippine ISPs. The screens on the new MacBooks do look pretty good, but I don't really follow that scene. But like when I stumble into an Apple store against my will, I'm like, okay, medyo maganda naman. And in fairness, yung Apple naman, like their phones and stuff, maganda rin naman yung screens, so I can believe it. All right, a bit of i5 3500 with 4 sticks. I'm unable to run all 4 DIMMs, but they work stable. Yeah. Sorry, I mean, I don't may mga weird stuff talaga na ganyan. Check your Mobo if they are part of the QVL, the qualified vendor list. If they are, then you have a good chance of returning the motherboard, because basically it's not functioning the way it's advertised that it should function. Yes, we talked about this earlier. you can rewind, but basically we recommend the MH670 by Cooler Master, which is just by shocking coincidence also available. We also sell it at Hardware Sugar. Like you, I don't want to do a hard sell on it. But I did talk about earlier in the stream why I like this, why I like this headset, and I can honestly say I've used it a lot. And yeah, it's pretty good. Pesto, I forget. I think it's the 5500H. So not that great. Yun nga, specs wise, not that great. Although I did upgrade the RAM. I did add RAM to it. And it's just really super responsive. Like it does what I need it to do. If for gaming, like say you can get a 10,000 peso or so monitor that does 1080p, so that's the resolution, at around 144 hertz. Actually, we have one in the shop. Let me check lang. Asus kasi has one now na it's kind of like the best quality. Oh, 9,900 sa atin. It's a 1080p monitor, 24 inches, 144 hertz, 9,900. 144 hertz is very decent for gaming. This is an IPS panel. So if you're trying to go for like the brand names, yun, around 10,000, we do have a video where we explored the cheapest gaming monitors that you can get on Lazada. Kung okay ba sila. They were around like 6,000, 7,000. Spoiler alert, they were actually quite decent. But yun nga, very iffy yung brand. So, you're kind of like shooting in the dark a little. But the three that we tried the three cheapest that we could find na gaming monitor talaga. So yun, 24 inches, at least 144 hertz. IPS, no, maybe they were VA panels actually. Or maybe they didn't say what they were. I can't quite remember. Kaiser as a recommendation, the AOC 24G2. AOC nga at that price point, a lot of people do recommend them. We don't carry them lang kasi, so I'm not quite familiar. And also, I can't comment on the quality. Kasi we've sold a bunch of Asus monitors. No issues naman. But, yeah, 50K, you can probably pump out decent 1080p gaming. So, somewhere around that price range would be for a monitor. Although, to be honest, if you can spend a bit extra, I would spend a bit extra. 27 inches for a monitor. 27 inches versus 24 inches makes a big difference. In terms of just usability and the way the games can bring you in more, it makes more of an impact with the larger screen. For me, 27 inches, IPS, 144 hertz. And I want to say 2K, but then that would really drag up the price. So, and for a 50K PC, sige, wag na lang. But, the minimum would be 24 inches, 144 hertz, VA panel. The more top end would be 27 inches, 1080p, IPS panel. Sige, wag na lang yung 2K. Oh, there we go. Werner mentioned that another AOC monitor, 27 inches, 12,000. I don't know, to be honest. Some of these certifications are important, but some of them are also just like getting branding on something that, because the cables themselves already have version numbers. That's the one that's more important, because based on the version number, you know how much data can be sent through those cables. And if they're a larger pipe, then you can get better colors and fidelity on the monitor. So I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if that's nice to have or it's just like marketing or something. So I do not know. Maybe we should do a video on that. And I'm not being specious. A lot of the videos that we do is just really because like I don't know, and let's research and let's make a video about that. All right, guys. I'm hitting the 1 hour 50 mark. This was a bit longer than I expected, but I did enjoy this kind of just random sit down with a slightly. So there was a topic to talk about, but like we could meander along. It did last longer than I thought. I gotta get dinner ready. So thank you so much for joining me on this rainy day stream. Have a good Saturday night. Have a good weekend. Please do check out the podcast from yesterday. I think very interesting topic, very important also for people who watch tech YouTubers. And if you're a content creator as well, very important for you. And tomorrow, if Ren makes the thumbnail, which he hasn't yet, the our last video for the month will air. And the topic of the video is the one question that I can't answer. We get asked a lot of tech questions, but this is the one question hindi ko talaga masagot. Coming to your screen tomorrow. Thanks. Sorry, I'll just do one last from Jake Sarmiento. Plan to build a PC that be for work and gaming. What bundle of mobile and CPU and GPU can you recommend for Ryzen 5? Get a Ryzen 5 5600X. Very easy recommendation, easy go-to recommendation. Pair that with a 3060 if you can. And you're good to go. I mean, that's really a very competent gaming rig and it will tear through your work. 16 gigabytes of RAM, no need to do 32. If you want to save some money, get a M80X board like the B550M MSI Pro VDH Wi-Fi. This is actually an interesting for the M80X Mobos, our go-to before was the DS3H from Gigabyte, but they got really bad. Ang dami ng mga versions na they removed the RGB headers and just the quality of the board. So actually, it was Russ from the shop who impressed on me that the B550M Pro VDH is better value for money. So but that's what we recommend now for AM4 M80X Mobos. That's what we carry in the shop. M80X cases are usually cheaper. So yeah, that's it. Five. You don't even need like you can go with a stock cooler for the 5600X. You can get a decent cooler like the AK400. So it doesn't need to be like the super high-end air coolers. The Arctic coolers are really good also, and again, very affordable. So yeah, you don't. If budget is a little of a concern, you can go Ryzen 5 5500, still get the 3060. There will be some bottleneck, but don't worry about it. You can still employ the majority of your GPU for gaming performance, and that will really be worth it for gaming. So around thereabouts, I would say. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, guys.